Thanks for coming today. We typically do these annual updates in person, but of course, this year everything's a little bit differently.
Yeah, I used to teach at Coffee County, but now I live in Alabama, so the virtual option really helps me.
So do you still teach?
No, I'm not teaching anymore.
Okay, but you are still able to mentor from Alabama.
Yes. Yeah.
Awesome. Love it. Well, thank you for continuing to mentor.
Yeah.
Well, I'll go through just a general overview, and then we'll dive into some of the Coffee County specific numbers. But you probably know as a mentor that Tennessee Achieves is a private 501c3, so we operate in 90 of the 95 counties across the state. But we started in just Knox County, so we launched in 2008 and just expanded as the program became a statewide initiative. We have served more than 440,000 students and worked with over 71,000 volunteers across the state since we started. There are 5 main components to Tennessee Promise, the first of which being what most people know about, and that's the Last Dollar Scholarship. So the scholarship that allows any high school senior to attend community or technical school free of tuition and fees. We also have our volunteer mentors, which you are fully aware of, that work with our students through the process of applying to college and figuring out how to become a college student directly after high school. And then we've got our community service component, which is something that we're super proud of and have now given back over 3 million hours of community service since inception. So those are the 3 components that have really stuck with us since the beginning. 2 newer programs are our summer programs and our complete coaching model. So our summer programs are intended to ensure that every student is able to start college more academically and socially prepared. So 70% of the students that participate in Tennessee Promise are not testing into college level classes in all of the subjects. So they require what's called a learning support class. And so we offer a 3-week boot camp that allows any student to come and get instruction in reading and writing and math. And at the end, they take a placement test to see if they can test out of those learning support classes and start in their college classes.
What happens if they cannot test out?
If they don't test out, they still have to take the learning support class that first semester. And
I see. It's just an additional.
The colleges have now designed it to where it's a co-requisite class. So if they don't test in a college level math, they still take a college level math, but they at the same time they're taking the learning support math it's basically like additional tutoring to help like understand how to do well in that college level math class, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. And then our complete coaching model is designed for our highest risk students. So that's based on family income. Anyone who's in that category that starts school with Tennessee Promise is assigned to a proactive coach. So similar to the mentors, but this is a paid full-time staff member that works with students once the mentorship is over through their
university or at tnAchieves?
At Tennessee Achieves.
Okay.
Yep. So each of our coaches are assigned about 300 students in a particular service area that they reach out to once a month to basically just check in. So for some students, it's I'm doing great. This is what's going on. And for some students, it's I can't figure out how to get to my classes anymore or things like that. So it's just checking in once a month with each student. So the reach of Tennessee Achieves, we kind of covered a little bit on the first slide, but we do serve 90 counties, 74 of which are considered rural. 35 are either at risk or distressed, according to the state. And we work with over 600 high schools and 67 post-secondary institutions. So just about 80% of our students each year are enrolled in a community college. That is definitely the biggest number of students we serve. The other 21% are divided equally between the colleges of applied technology and then the eligible 4-year institutions. So we work with about 60,000 applicants each year. And that represents 89% of all high school seniors. So which high school did you teach at?
I taught at Coffee County High School.
Coffee County. Okay. So when we work with the counselors at each of the high schools, we always tell them that we would love every student to apply. We know every student is not going to go to a Tennessee Promise institution and maybe not even go to college, but it's a good backup program. And also the information that we provide to students is relevant regardless of where a student plans to attend. So we always want every student to apply. About 90% of our students or of our high school seniors do. 78% of all the first-time full-time freshmen at community colleges are Tennessee Achieves students.
Oh, wow.
And 86% of all graduates each year are Tennessee Achieves students. So we're really touching a large number of the students that are in the pipeline at the community colleges across the state. Over half of the students we work with are eligible for a federal Pell Grant, which is a need-based scholarship based on information students put on their FAFSA. So we are working with a very at-risk population, and 40% of them would be the first in their families to go to college. And then just over half, 51% of the students major in health sciences and STEM-related fields. 51 sounds high, but I feel like it's even higher because every student I talk to wants to be a nurse. So
yes, nursing.
I mean, seriously. But then my dad works at a hospital and says I can't find nurses. So there's some of miscommunication here. I don't know what's going on, but we're working on that. So annually, the state spends about $30 million a year on the tuition and fees associated with Tennessee Promise. And Tennessee Achieves operates for $2.5 million each year. So college going rate is one of the biggest things that we measure on the access side, looking at how many students who graduate from high school actually go into post-secondary after their high school graduation. Took a really big hit with the pandemic. What we're students just are saying they are getting a full job or now supporting their family or just don't see the value in post-secondary education right now. So we are obviously working to change that story and hope that it goes up in the next few years back up to the 60 range, but it did go from about 62 down to just under 57% college going rate across the state. Similar results in Coffee County, not as drastic as a jump, but went from 57 down to 52% in 2020.
Let me ask you this. If those kids decide, they graduated and they are out in the working world right now, if they decide during this school year that, oh gosh, I really would like to go to college, is that something they could talk to y'all about, or they've missed out on it?
They've missed out on Tennessee Promise. There's obviously still the federal aid that does not have deadlines are eligible for Pell Grants. They could still get that. They can still complete their FAFSA, so they could still go in the spring, but they couldn't get Tennessee Promise.
Gotcha.
Unless there was a health reason, then they can file an appeal and start later. But it's just that they wanted to work and then decided a little bit later that they couldn't get more. Sorry. The joys of working home. My dog loves the mailman so much.
He's just trying to protect you.
Some of the other two things that we look at with the access side are FAFSA file and community service. So statewide, 86% of our students complete the FAFSA, but in Coffee County, almost 90%. So they're really, your high school is doing, I know, a lot with the FAFSA and doing a really great job. So 89% is really great. And then community service. So I mentioned that we have over 3 million hours across the state. In Coffee County, 30,000 hours have been completed by local residents. So definitely something to be proud of.
Yeah.
The outcomes that we look at once students go to college are retention. So who of the students who start, who comes back the following year, and then graduation rate. So our retention rate for students who go to Tennessee Promise institutions is 67%, which doesn't sound excellent. We still obviously have work to do with the rest of the 33% that aren't coming back, but it is still 14% higher than the state average for community college students. So state only 53% of those who start in community college come back for their second year. And 6-year graduate is similar, 16% higher for tnAchieves students versus the statewide average. And then when we dig into some of our programs that we offer to students, the ones that participate in the summer programs that I mentioned have a first year retention 34% higher than their peers. Those who participate with a coach, so the ones in the complete coaching model, have a retention rate of 23% higher than their peers. And then Knox Promise is our newest initiative. It's privately funded in Knox County, and allows us to coach every student, not just the low-income students. And it also allows us to offer emergency grants. So we are able to give students money for things like books or transportation. So really successful, 42% increase in retention. And we actually just started a pilot across the state this year. It's a much smaller pot of funding. But for those most at risk, so the lowest income, they are able to apply for an emergency grant similar. So if there's something that's preventing them from being successful, we're able to help fund those now. So that's really so as far as student progress in Coffee County, they are the students who do participate in Tennessee Promise are doing better than the students across the state. So we have almost 600 applicants each year in Coffee County. Wow. 2 of those go to Tennessee Promise institutions. So that doesn't mean the other 400 are not going to college. It just means some of them went on to schools that are not Tennessee Promise institutions.
Right.
But those that do start with Promise retain at a rate of 70%, which is 3% higher than the statewide average. And then graduation rate is 45%, so 10% higher than the statewide average, which is really, really awesome. And then our mentoring. So you are familiar with this since you do it now, and we are already recruiting for 2022. So we are looking for mentors to work with students from the class of 2022 that are applying now. We are still going to do a virtual mentoring platform. So we're doing sort of a hybrid of mentoring from the past few years. Mentors can still completely do everything virtually, but we did have some feedback that mentors miss the in-person component. So we're not doing those big team meetings like we used to do in the past.
Right.
Because it's still like so much uncertainty and don't want to bring everyone in the county all together into one cafeteria. But we are going to offer some what we're calling open houses where mentors and students can go and meet on the post-secondary institution campus and get to know each other more, apply to college, do things like that. So we will be having some open houses at post-secondary institutions that will give an opportunity for that in-person piece of the mentoring that a lot of our mentors have said that they missed. Mm-hmm. And in Coffee County, we do need 86. So we need around 80, between 80 and 90 each year in Coffee County, but we're expecting, with the number of applicants we're expecting this year, through 86 mentors. And so if you are mentoring again next year, you would just complete a 30-minute refresher course. And for any new mentors, I guess you're not in the county anymore, so you probably know less people in the area, but they would just do another hour-long training. And then we're always asked how people can get involved, and becoming a mentor is obviously the number one way. The other ways that we're telling people that they can tangibly get involved are letting us know other organizations that we can go to recruit mentors, and then telling people about Promise. So as a teacher, you likely probably know some families with high school seniors. And I think they do a very good job in Coffee County of getting the word out that it's open, but we always like to tell people, if you know any high school seniors, tell them to apply now, because if they don't apply in their high school senior year, they lose the opportunity moving forward. So it's that now. And that's all of the data that we have to go over today. This is my contact information. If you have any other questions or anything, I'm now, or you can email me or call me or text me.
Okay. Yeah, I think you covered the questions that I had. Thank you.
Okay, good.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. This will all be posted onto our website and sent out to you guys in the next couple of days. So if you do think of anything that comes up, please feel free to reach out. And thank you again for spending some of your Friday with me.
Yeah. All right.
Great
Well, thank
weekend.
you so much.
Take
Okay,
care.
bye.
Okay. Bye.